Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to our Bocce Preseason webinar. Everything you need to know about bocce and everything for the fall season. My name is Jennifer Tresp, and I am a regional sport director and unified champion school director for the Wilds region. On tonight with me is Bruce Volstead, who is the competition director, who is responsible for the fall festival. So we're
Hello.
glad you can join us tonight.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay. So we'll start. Just a reminder, please keep your cameras on if you can. We like to look at bright smiling faces, and keep your phone muted. We'll be able to open up at the end of the presentation for you to ask questions, or you can simply type them in the chat box and we will get to them in a timely manner. We still have people coming in. That's okay. Welcome to those who are now joining us. Tonight's agenda, you'll see we have a couple of items. First things first, we're going to talk about bocce, then preseason reminders, all about the trackers, the athletic performance training, fall season competitions, the new portal, and then any questions you might have, we will follow up with at that time. But like I said, if you put them in the chat, Bruce will monitor them, and I will monitor them for Bruce, and we'll get you answers as quickly as possible. So Bruce, if you want to go to our next slide. All right, let's go onward, bocce. As always, we'll talk about our sports management team. The email that Michelle Boone had sent you had asked if anyone would be interested in being on the bocce management team. So right now, the technical director for bocce is Deb Andrews. She is joined by Laura Davis, Sue Ann Jacob, Cindy Walters, Linda Gitson, and Andrew and Heather Machetta. And you may know Andrew as Pickle. So we are looking for some others to join us on that team. So please feel free to apply. Okay. On our SOPA website, the sports offered page, we have often talked about this. When you go onto the sports offered page, you can find bocce under the fall events. We did change the order that we had everything in to make it make a little more sense. So you can see right now we have last year's presentation still up on the sports page. We'll change that into the 2024 once we are complete tonight. Then we have the coaching resources. So that takes you to the bocce rules. In a couple of days, I would probably tell you right after August 1st, you will see that there'll be a new, under bocce resource, there'll be a new set of rules. Those set of rules will be the Pennsylvania rules. Okay, so we know that we do some different rules that are not in the bocce resources, but we do them to fit our event, which we are allowed to do. So there'll be another set of rules there. So please make sure you're always going by the Pennsylvania rules. If you notice that you can't find the answer in the Pennsylvania rules, then you can go to the bocce resource page to SOI's rules. Okay. Individual team assessments, that information on how to do it, how to find your scores right there. Then we have information for those of you who are bocce officials or would like to be bocce officials. And then followed by some helpful information under bocce, such as score sheets, tracking your athlete's performance, guide for spectators, how to build a bocce ramp, bocce timeouts. All of the resources that we use at events, we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. We would like them for you to have them at your fingertips, and right there they are. Okay, we're currently updating the bocce timeouts and the track and the bocce. There should probably another one on there. How to the bocce scorekeeper and officials information. We are updating those at this time, and fresh ones will be on shortly. But this is where you go to find the answers to all your questions. Okay. So if you are using the SOI book and you are looking for some information, please make sure, again, you go to the sports offered page, you'll find under the resources, the rules book. If you are not looking at the rules book that has the guy in the orange shirt, you are in the wrong one. Make sure that you have the latest date on the book, which I believe would be 2022. And then this is the Bocce resource guide. This has some wonderful training plans and even more information about Bocce, how you would set up a training plan, how you would teach athletes how to roll. There's wonderful photos in it, and there's some little videos in it if you're needing some assistance. Then there is also the warm-ups and cool downs you can find on that resource guide page. Same thing. Bocce they have some specific warm-ups for the bocces, for cool downs, as well as warm-ups for your players. They work the muscles and the body parts that we use in bocce. Okay, so if you're going to practice and you want to make sure you've got appropriate warm-ups, here they are for you. There is even another link when you go on this page that you can watch the exercises being done. Okay, so we got a little bit of everything there for you. Okay, talking about attire, athletic shoes, sneakers must be worn. They must be closed toe. If a bocce ball drops on them or they trip over a court, it can be very painful. As always, we're looking for walking pants, no denim, no matter what color those jeans are, and they are walking shorts, they are not allowed. Okay, so they must be the cotton walking shorts with the, I always say, usually they have pockets in them. Okay, and then no athletic shorts. By athletic shorts, we're referring to something an athlete would wear to play basketball or to run track in. Okay, those are what we're looking at as athletic shorts. They might be mesh shorts. Those are all inappropriate for bocce. We are simply looking for long pants or walking shorts. The shirt must be collared. You will not be able to play at sectionals and state events until the athletes are wearing an appropriate collared shirt. You may wear a visor or a ball cap. Preferably, the ball cap has the local program's name on it if you need to do this for sun glare. Then also, we need to tell you that no other hats are permitted. Okay, so please make sure that your athletes don't come wearing a hat that is illegal. They will need to remove it, and we don't want to have any scenes at that time. Where you can find more information on the attire and also what type of logo you should be putting on your shirts, simply go to the SOPA brand and uniform guidelines that you see at the bottom of this page. You can click on that when you get this copy, and it'll take you to every sport and the uniform and logo requirements for them. Okay. Events offered. The only two events we offer in bocce are doubles as well as unified doubles. Remember, unified doubles are always one athlete and one partner playing together, where the doubles are two athletes playing together. All sectional and state events will be using the new inflatable courts. Okay, we will either have indoor, outdoor carpet, or we will be on AstroTurf. So if you are playing on a dirt court or a grass court, my recommendation to you is you find something with AstroTurf, such as a high school football field or a college football field, and ask them to let you roll some bocce balls so you can feel the difference between the grass and stones compared to an AstroTurf court. Okay, the skill assessments. They are individual skill assessments. They are not individual skills competition. These skills are used strictly for divisioning. They are no competition at sectionals or state events that uses the skills as a competition. Okay, as we had said before, we only offer doubles and unified doubles. Okay, but you must complete the skills assessment on the SOPA website under events offered. You did see a form that tells you how to complete the skills. Please look through that, be careful reading it, and then perform the skills. Make sure your assessments are always measured in centimeters. Okay, so make sure you've got a tape measure that does centimeters, or that your cell phone converts the inches to centimeters. So each athlete must have their own assessment score. They should not be the same as their partner. Okay, so my score might be 345. My partner's score might be a 450, and that's okay. Right? Do not add them together. Right? Do not add the scores together. Simply each person has their own score. When you put them on your tracker, make sure that you put in there each individual score. Okay. If you add them together and put their scores in, the database automatically doubles it. Okay. Because it adds player 1 and player 2 scores together. You'll end up in the wrong division if you're not careful. So make sure that you enter a score for each individual. Okay, some reminders about the game. The Polina must land after the 30-foot line and before the 50-foot line to be considered in play. Okay, so that is the midline and then the back end of the court's service line. If the Polina lands within a foot of the side rail, the official is going to place their foot into the court and they're going to make sure that the Polina is moved out to 1 foot. Okay, so that would be at the toes of their sneakers. The player who rolled the Polina must also roll the first bocce ball. Okay, and as always, each team member may only roll 2 bocce balls. Okay. Game reminders again. Balls that hit the backboard remain in play. Okay, this includes the Polina after the initial roll. So when the game begins, if a bocce ball hits the Polina and it hits the backboard, that would be the Polina, it would hit the backboard, it is still in play. We will play it wherever it lands. But on that first initial roll, it must land in the play area. We play from one end of the court. And at the end of the frame, if the Polina and a bocce ball are touching, some call it kissing, no extra points are given. Okay, that is a league rule in bocce when they play on a 90-foot court. It is not a Special Olympics rule. Remember, in Special Olympics, no kissing is allowed. Okay. Go ahead, Bruce, if you would push me forward. Thank you. Two-handed rolls. This was a question from last year that we wanted to keep on to make sure everybody understood that, yes, you can roll two-handed, but as always, the ball must release below the waist or it will be a foul. Okay. So please remember, there are many ways to roll the ball. You can roll standing, which is the most common, sitting in a chair or a wheelchair with or without a ramp, kneeling on one knee and pushing the ball instead of rolling it, legal. Kneeling on one knee, legal. Using a walker, remember that all balls must be below the waist. So you can see the young man in the picture, his hand is below his waist. He cannot have the ball in his hand and lift his hand higher than his waist, or it will be considered a foul. Okay. The game times. When you go to a sectional, you will play a 20-minute time limit. Okay. When you go to states, there will be pool play games that are played first. They are 20 minutes. And when we move to the medal rounds, they will be 30 minutes. Okay. You will be notified halfway between each that you have 10 minutes left if it's a sectional or pool play, or that you have 50 minutes left if it is a medal round. Sorry, 15 minutes left if it is a medal round. Okay. This way you can call your timeouts and you and your players know how long you have to go. The 2-minute warning. This will also be announced when there are 2 minutes left in the game. At that time, you will finish the frame. You do not stop in the middle of the frame. You finish the frame and no extra frame will be played. Okay. A frame is considered started when the athlete steps into the court to roll the Polina. Once the Polina leaves their fingers, the game has started. Whether or not the ball, the Polina, lands in the play area, okay? It doesn't matter if it has to come back and roll. It's that first time they step into the court and the ball and the Polina leaves their fingers. That means the game has started. And you must finish that frame. The only time you would play an additional frame is if the scores were tied at the end. Okay, now we're at the ties. So during a frame, the team that causes the tie rolls again and tries to break the tie. So if red is the closest ball and green comes in and now is tied with red, green has to roll again because they have caused the tie. Okay, so at the end of the frame will be null and void, and we replay the frame if the balls are tied. If the two closest balls, one is red, one is green, and they are tied, the frame is disregarded. Okay, null and void, we start a new frame. Whoever started that frame, whoever had possession of the Polina, will now roll for the next frame. And no points are awarded for that frame that is considered null and void. Okay, and at the end of the game, you cannot end in a tie. So one additional frame is played to determine the winner. So we call the 2-minute warning. The points are awarded. We're tied 6-6. We will play one more frame to break the tie. Okay, timeouts. Everyone may call a timeout. Each team gets one timeout. The coach sitting in the coach's chair is the one who may call the timeout. They need to signal for a timeout, which is the traditional T. Okay, they need to be in possession of the ball. Okay, they must be in possession of either rolling the Polina or the bocce ball, and the official will recognize them. Once the official calls timeout red or timeout green, the coach goes to the athletes. The athletes do not come to the coach. Okay, if you are in an event and you have to cross over the court, that's fine. Please just cross over where there are no balls in play. When one team calls the timeout, the other team may have a timeout also. Okay, so if red calls the timeout, the green coach gets a timeout. Then when the green coach calls their timeout, the red coach may take their time. And again, you may do this anytime during the game. It does not matter if there's a minute left on the clock. It doesn't matter if there's 20 minutes left on the clock. You may gladly call that timeout. But again, you must be in possession of the ball. Measuring. So using a measuring tape, we will measure this way at all events. If you are measuring with the soup can, it is in reverse of what this one is. So if we are measuring with a tape measure, you take the zero end and you pull it to the side center of the bocce ball that is closest. So you can see right there on your screen where the bocce ball is and where the zero side of the tape measure is connecting. You pull it across the top center of the Polina and you use the measurement at the top center of the Polina. Okay, the head official is the one who should be reading the measurement. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, so the top measurement. So let's talk a little bit about safety. A lot of you are doing outdoor training. With your outdoor training, please remember to check the airnow.gov, which is for the air quality. I think Bruce will talk about this a little later. And also your heat levels. Make sure you also check the following or know the following: the address and the location where you are training. If you have to call an ambulance for any reason, you need to be able to give them a clear, accurate location. Remind your athletes to bring their own water bottles with them, put their names on it, and have a water cooler available for refills of those water bottles. Before your athletes arrive, walk the venue prior to the practice, collect anything that may be in the court, no glass or trash on the courts, preferably, so that the bocce balls are not rolling over an object that should not be on the court. Make sure your court is secured and ready to go. Again, sunscreen, bug spray, and visors are all recommended for your play. And I thought predetermine a safety zone. This is somewhere if something is occurring and you need to send the athletes away from the court, find an area where everybody knows what it is, they can be aware of it, and it can be a safe location for them. Okay, so always find your safety zone. Make sure you got bug screen, sunscreen, walk your venue, make sure you've got a water cooler, and know where you are located. When we talk about heat levels, if you check something like AccuWeather on your cell phone, they will actually tell you the heat level right on there, and they will tell you whether it's normal or whether it's not good with people with breathing impairments, and it'll tell you when you should not be out in this heat. Okay. If you are practicing outside, I hope there is a tree nearby where athletes can get some shade, or you may need to pitch a small tent to make sure that there is some kind of shade for when they are not playing. Okay, Bruce? Thunder and lightning, if you are practicing outside, every time you see lightning or hear thunder, you need to stop practice for 30 minutes and seek shelter. Okay, so remember, this is every time you see lightning or hear thunder. So if you've been off the courts for 20 minutes and all of a sudden there's a big streak of lightning, 30 minutes starts again. Okay, so please make sure that you are checking the time, and if it's thunder or lightning, get your athletes into a safe area. We do have some trainings coming up. If you are not certified or you would like to be certified, or if you have some assistants who need to be certified, we will be doing virtual trainings. The first one will be Saturday, August 3rd. It will be from noon to 3 p.m. Then on Tuesday, August 20th at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you are a coach who would like to be trained as an official, we're hosting a training for officials on Sunday, August 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. So you must be a certified head coach or have taken a sports certification. You maybe are still working on your 10 hours to attend the officials training. If you are interested in being an official and you'd like to help out at a sectional or state event, please let me know and we will gladly make sure that happens. All right, Bruce, I think you, oh, nope, I have an invitational here. The Bocce Bash is coming up. It is on Sunday, October 27th. That should say 2024, not 2004. It will be held, as always, at Bloomsburg University. It is hosted by Team Columbia Montour. The information will be out late August, early September. If you are not on the mailing list and have not received an email at this time telling you when the date was and to save the date, please contact Deb Andrews at DAND38023 at AOL.com and you can get on her mailing list so you can get information on the Bocce Bash.
Jen.
Yes, Laura.
That's the wrong email. It's DANDR.
Oh no, there's supposed to be an R in here?
Yes.
Okay, I will fix it before we send out the before we send out the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Yep. So it's DANDR38023.
Okay. All right. So the we'll take care of that and get that out to everybody and make sure you have it's correct on the slides when the slides come out. And certainly last but not least, coaches should not be telling their players what to do when it is their turn. Okay, this includes any verbal direction, pointing by hand or an item, or sign language. Okay, please remember, you've worked so hard. You've trained these athletes. You've got them to know what they're doing. Now sit back, enjoy, cheer them on, have a great time, but let the players show you what they can do, what you taught them and what they learned, because they certainly appreciate everything that you are doing for them. Okay. So that should bring us to the end of Bocce, and we will now turn it over to Bruce for some preseason reminders.
Yeah, Jen, I think I'm going to pause here if anyone has any questions related to bocce. And the reason for that is if I know coaches go on multiple of these calls, and from this point on, if they were on the powerlifting, flag football, or the LDR, they would have heard what's going to, what we're going to speak to next. I do see one comment, and I see something in the chat right now that we can answer.
Chat.
Go ahead and
Mary,
ask.
well,
Hey, Bruce,
so
before you do the chat, can
can you try to say that again? I think we're losing you.
and I don't know where that is on this thing. Question.
Can you type that in the chat?
Okay, if
there?
I ask how you want to do your
Chat.
Yeah, do you mind typing that into the
Where's that?
chat? You're having a bad signal there.
So while they're typing that into the chat, just so you can tell, there are no different rules this year. We are not adding any rules. We are just going to be adding the PA rules onto the SOPA website and sending all certified coaches a copy of it. When will we get the rosters from our signups? Your RSD, your regional sport director, should be sending them to you at any time. You may cheer during the match. That's not a problem. You can yell, "Let's go, good job. All right, Mikey, roll that ball." But what you can't do is yell, "Roll to the left, roll to the right." Those things are not allowed. You can't tell the athlete what to do. You can't tell them to move to the left or move to the right, but you can definitely cheer them on, just appropriately. Can you use a ramp if you are not in a wheelchair? I have an athlete that is blind. He uses a ramp, and that is fine. He may use a ramp without a wheelchair. That's not a problem. We just need to make sure that when the ramp is placed in the court, when the ramp is placed into the court, we need to make sure that the feet of the ramp is behind the service line, and that the volunteer who is helping the athlete has their back to the balls. Okay, when the athlete goes to place the ball on the top of the ramp, they should be able to move the ball by themselves, making it forward, making the forward motion. The volunteer may not make the forward motion. And I think there was a question about how long do they get to throw the bocce ball? If is there a time limit? They're actually, when we do this, what we do is we watch them roll the ball, and we know what their rhythm is. And by the end of the game, if they are in a very slow pace, they can be called for a delay of game. Okay, so please make sure that your athletes are not delaying the game, that they are continuing at their normal pace. If they have trouble getting in the court and they do that 25 times, they whip their arm back and forth, we'd like you to start working with them to be able to say 1, 2, 3, roll. Okay, and the partner can help them with that. It's a simple 1, 2, 3 roll instead of swinging their arms back and forth 50 times. Some athletes do have that. They have to do their pre-roll routine. We would just try to speed up that routine. 20 minutes, 30 minutes is not a lot of time to play. So we want to make sure that they get enough time to play in that, 20, 30 minutes. We don't want to hold it up. Sorry, Gary, I don't know who the officials were, what event you were at, but you may cheer for the athletes. You just may not tell them what to do. May not tell them where to stand, where to roll the ball, but clapping, applauding, nice roll, way to go. Those type of things are appreciated.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions related to bocce?
We didn't, we asked if,
Yep, there's an
Jennifer,
asking
how
here
long
about
do
where
you-
bocce is at Villanova.
how long do they get to throw the body?
I think
So-
someone was just asking again, how long do they get to roll the bocce ball? And I think that's what you just covered.
Right. So
Well,
they
I was
should be
kicked out
rolling-
though, so I missed it.
Oh, okay.
They should be rolling.
Ah, that ain't funny, Bruce.
They should be rolling at a smooth pace. So they shouldn't be if they're not getting in the court, like when we call their colors up, if they're not getting in the court, we're gonna call them again. If we have to continually call them, we're gonna call a timeout to talk to the athletes, but they should be getting in the court and rolling within 30 to 45 seconds. They
Okay,
shouldn't be in there for 2 to 3 minutes. If your athlete
Thank you.
has one of those issues where they are swinging their arm multiple times, then what we would want to do is get them into a routine of going 1, 2, 3, roll, so that they can keep the game speeding up. 20 minutes, 30 minutes is not a long time to play. The longer they take, the less you get to roll and play.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if there's any other questions, right now, Jen, I'm going through and I'm muting folks because I'm hearing a lot of background noise.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that folks can hear on this call.
Okay, so at this time, we are looking to with that, we will be playing. It's not fully confirmed where we are playing at Villanova. We are expecting to play on campus one day and then off campus 2 days. It'll be a very short bus ride to the new venue. So that is being worked on right now in the schedule, and we will get it out to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, and the high school would be Harriton High School, which is about 3 minutes down the road from Villanova.
Not too shabby, 3 minutes.
And just to give folks an FYI, there's actually 2 gymnasiums there, so we'll have one for competition, and then the other gym that's like right next to it, for like O-Town and some other events that they have there as well. But we're looking, Jen and the sport management team are looking to see if there's anything that they can do with the schedule to open up some more time and provide lunches and things like that for the athletes. I'm going to open up one last time if I could, Jen, if anyone has any questions related to bocce before I move on. Again, if you joined any of the 3 other coaches preseason webinars that we had, from this point onward, it's essentially the same thing that you
There's
heard.
just one change, Bruce, for anyone who's listened to the other 3. Maybe we could go over that first then, before people would leave.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and alert
Okay,
them?
well, first, someone wants to know, they have an athlete who does, they do have an athlete who does that massive rolling, does the multiple rolls. If you have that issue, talk to us before the match, talk to the venue person before the match. We can get a volunteer to help with the 1, 2, 3 roll. There's something that we can do to help you. So please make sure you talk to the venue coordinators.
Which one's mine?
Okay.
No, the other one.
Right now, Liz, for sectionals, the initial allocations are out for bocce as well as any team sport. And for sectionals, those allocations are out. Bruce, can you tell them exactly where to find them?
Yeah, they'll be on the sports offered page. There's a state and sectional paperwork, but they're not posted there yet. I think they're doing some things with the website now, but it was shared in the weekly update that was sent by Haley yesterday. So they would be located in that email. You can find them there.
So Liz, you can reach out to your regional sports director for that number, that listing, or your team lead should be able to help you with those numbers. Okay.
And as a reminder too, those are just initial allocations based off of training numbers and percentages and things like that. So you are allowed to ask for more spots that you were originally allocated as well.
Right. So Jim, if you didn't receive that message, you need to go to your regional sport director, or you need to go to your team lead in the program. They should have received both of those. Both of those people should have received that email with the link. Okay. Then so there is one change if you have been on the preseason meetings. Please make sure you understand this. At one time, they said that the letter of intent was going to be done on your tracker. So many of you may have heard that before. As of today, a final discussion took place, and we don't feel like it's a good way to do the letter of intent. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the LOI the way we used to do it. So the initial allocations are sent out. There's a date where your regional sport director will talk to your management team. The management team will talk to the coaches, find out how many they are interested in taking. And then they will register with you with that many, and then final allocations will come out. Okay. So if you've been on any other preseason, it was telling you that on the tracker, you had to request your slots. That is no longer going to be what's happening. What's going to happen is you will talk to your management team of your county or your team, and you will tell them what you would like to bring. They will submit it, and then a final allocation will come out. Okay. And it'll say LOI on your, Bruce, can you scoot to that part? I know it's a couple of slides ahead.
Yeah, let me
we put that nice little slide in, which might make more sense. So if you can just skip through real fast.
There we go.
Keep going. Right there. Okay, so on your tracker, for those of you who have seen your tracker, there's a yellow section. Okay, this is that yellow section, and it says, this is your LOI. This is no longer true. Okay, this will be instead the athletes that you're interested in attending your local or invitational. Then this is the athletes you have interested in attending the sectional, and the athletes interested in going to fall festival. This will not be used as an LOI. This will be strictly used to tell your management team people who is interested in going and how many slots you would like. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I was going to say George Massimino, he actually put the Eastern ones in there. I'll try to pull the document up too and drop them into the chat too for each of the
allocations for the Central and the West.
If I can, yeah. I'll do that behind the scenes as I'm going through some of this if I can get there.
Okay.
But yeah, they were posted in the weekly update. I'm pretty sure they come from Haley. That's how they come through on my email, but they may come through with Special Olympics Pennsylvania to some folks, but I'm pretty sure it comes from Haley. She sends the weekly update every Wednesday.
All right, Bruce, if you want to take over, I'll go back and get those and get them in the inbox.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, because I'll be doing two things at once here. All right, just let me get back to where we were.
So Mary, yep, if you got one team, it's 2 athletes. But remember, you may request more.
And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because you can read the slides when we send them out, and we've covered a lot of information in about 40 minutes on related to bocce, but we want to make sure that we give bocce information as much, much attention as we can here.
Hey, Bruce, George got the central and the western
Look at
allocations
that.
in
George
the
is the
chat.
man.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George.
You are quick
Appreciate
on the
that.
draw.
Good, thank you. This is the season at a glance. This should not be unfamiliar to some of you. We've been using this slide for about over a year now. The signups for athletes and volunteers actually ended on July 15th. So after this deadline, anyone that's interested in signing up, please contact your regional sport director. The official season for bocce and for our fall sports is August 9th. And the seasonal eligibility deadline is August 23rd, as you can see by this slide here. So that is the fall season in a glance. Sports season prep. We do have a fall season calendar for all 3 sections of the state, Central, East, and West, because we all have different sectionals. So different timelines go with each one of those. Those are also posted on the website. On the competition page, you can see them where it says sports. It'll say competition. Click on competition. The fall season calendar will be put on there. Again, this reiterates the eligibility deadline that was posted on the last slide of August 23rd, and then again with the season dates August to November, with the fall season concluding with Fall Fest. Air quality, like Jen mentioned before, we want to make sure that we're keeping close eye on the air quality. There is a link right here, the airnow.gov, where you can simply click on that website, type in your zip code of the training site location, and you can see on there what zone that you're in. If you are in a zone of 151 or higher, there's no outdoor activities that should occur, whether it's social or training. So anything above 151, you should be scheduling practice indoors or rescheduling training or move indoors. Again, that's a good resource right there. It's actually very simple to use. You just type in your zip code. Athlete and volunteer registration. Athletes obviously required to have their medical on file with their signature. That medical is good for 3 years. As a reminder for Class A volunteers, they have to have those 4 trainings right there. The background checks are valid for 5 years. The general orientation is valid for life. And then the protective behaviors. And then I can't see the next one. My screen's hidden. Whoops.
Protected behaviors, general orientation, concussion training. Protected behaviors and concussion training are valid for 3 years.
3 years. Good.
General orientation is valid for life.
Perfect. Thanks, Jen. I have the shared screen things taking over the bottom of my screen here.
I do it all the
Qualifiers,
time.
as a reminder, bocce is a qualifier. So if athletes are interested in attending Fall Fest, they must attend the sectional event. Again, for Fall Fest, we'll send out the advancing numbers. I believe the date is September 20th on there. See if I can get that out of the way. Yep, September 20th. Allocations, again, share the final allocations with the weekly email. Thanks, George, for posting that in the chat as well. Again, as Jen mentioned earlier, you can request additional allocations on your LOI when we send that around. Just for your information, the event registration information for the Central will be sent out on Friday, July 26th. That'll include the LOI, and it'll also include the initial allocations. The following week, Friday, August 2nd, is when the Western event information will be shared, followed by the next Friday for the Eastern programs. Friday, August 9th is when the LOI and the event information will be shared for the Eastern programs that go to sectionals. Be prepared for the season. Jen talked about this a little bit earlier, but again, we want to make sure that we get everyone eligible. Again, to reiterate, understand and be aware of the air quality and heat risk that Jen covered. Keep a pulse on the illness, disease outbreaks in your community. Certainly, we don't want athletes coming to training if they are sick. They should be staying home. Making sure your athletes are practicing healthy habits, washing their hands, good hygiene, things like that. Know your facility's emergency action plan, evacuation route. Again, if you're indoors, know where the evacuation route is, know how you're getting out of facility. If you're outdoors, where's there a safe space to be? Make sure you know that ahead of time so you can communicate that to the athletes. Update yourself on the sports rules. Again, you can find the sports rules on our sports offered webpage. Again, we'll be using the 2022 sport rules. Athlete as a coach, this is a reminder that athletes can also not only just participate in sports, but they can also participate as an athlete. Prior to each season, Jen and Jordan put together a webinar for the athletes as a coaches. So I do have that link down listed there in that number 4 bullet point that you can listen to. Again, any athlete that is interested in being an athlete as a coach, they must fill out the athlete as a coach request form with the approval from their head coach they will be working with. And from there, they will be interviewed by the regional sport director to determine if they are appropriate to attend a training school. If you do have any questions related to athlete as a coach, please reach out to Jordan Schubert, and his email is located on this slide. Coach requirements. Again, if it's a team sport, you must have at least 1 certified coach per team. And for individual sports, you must have at least 1 certified coach per 25 athletes. So an example here, as you can see, is if you have 26 bocce athletes, you will need 2 certified coaches, right? Because you're above that 25, that 26 bumps you up to a 2nd certified coach. All right, so now we're going to get into the tracker. This is a reminder what Jen mentioned earlier about the LOI. Again, we will be sharing out LOIs. So we made that decision today. Again, we think it's going to be easier in the programs to complete an LOI rather than going back and forth with updating your tracker. So disregard that. But I'll take you through some of the slides and take you through this presentation, and we'll talk about it right after this. Right after this short video. So my computer seems to be on delay.
Just going to talk to you a little bit about our trackers.
Jen, you can hear it?
So we've made a lot of changes based on your feedback over the last year to hopefully make this whole process a little bit easier for each of our coaches. I'm going to go ahead and just share screen here. All right, so here you're looking at, this is a team tracker, but I think just to walk you through kind of what is included in here. So the first tab is the instruction tab. The second tab we have is kind of what we'll call kind of the tracker, and then LOI. That's where you'll really manage eligibility and the LOI data, as well as attendance. The sport-specific roster is where you'll manage really everything that has to do with event registration. And then each of the team sports also has a team ratings form tab. There's an additional one in here. It's just a volunteer position requirements. And this is just a snapshot of some of those different ways an individual can volunteer and then what the clearances are. So just move this in here as kind of an easy access for coaches who may have some questions about that. So we'll dive into each of those tabs a little bit. And I'm really going to focus today on what's important for our coaches, right? What are we expecting? How are we expecting you to kind of work within these and manage? And then kind of what do we need you to be doing in them when it comes to event registration or LOIs? So on the instruction tab here, so we have just moved over this top bit was historically on the volunteer tracking tab, but this is just really data for that training site. So if we could ask each of our training site leads, whoever's receiving this tracker, to go ahead and fill out the green boxes here, just allows us, anyone kind of coming in here knows who the go-to person to contact for that training site is, may there be any questions. And then these gray here will automatically populate the numbers once you have some information listed on that athlete and volunteer tab. It'll also tell you here if you're meeting the 4-to-1 ratio for 4 Class A volunteers or 1 Class A volunteer for every 4 athletes at the training site. So again, that'll just give you some statistics. The rest of this here just walks you through a little bit. We'll talk through today, but walks you through a little bit as to what you can expect, what kind of each tab contains and what you can expect on each of the tabs. So we'll start here with the volunteer and athlete tab. So these first columns here, so A through H, all that data will be populated off of the sign-up forms. So if you have athlete or volunteers that are regular participants at your training site, they should need to be completing the sign-up form. That deadline has passed, so the deadline to complete the fall sign-up forms was July 15th. So if you have any individuals at this point in time that need to get put onto this sheet, they will need to contact your regional sport director directly. So you can just provide them with that information and they can get a hold of them. The regional sport director will work with those individuals to complete the sign-up form if there is still room and space at your training site to take more athletes. And then once they complete that sign-up form, they will get populated on your tracker tab here. All this information is locked. So the information in A through H is all locked information. You are not able to make any changes or edits to that. If there are edits that need to be made, again, you should just contact your regional sport director and they can help to do that for you. The other thing that the regional sport directors will do is sort this for you. So they will sort it by participant type and then alphabetically by name. If there's a different way that you would like it sorted, if you would just like to see something very specific, again, you can reach out to them and they'll make those updates for you. As we scroll across here, we have frozen columns A through C so that as you scroll across, the names and participant types will stay on your screen. So the next really important columns are the eligibility. So I and J are also locked cells. This information will automatically be populated. Our regional administrative managers, or our RAMs, are the ones who are managing that on the back end. And again, based on an individual's eligibility status, these things will populate here. We have color-coded these for you to, again, hope to make it easier for you to be able to navigate through there. So anyone that's green, that pops up green is eligible. They're good to be at your training site. Anyone that pops up red is missing something. So if it's a volunteer, they may be missing clearances or some of the certifications, general orientation, protective behaviors, concussion training that is needed to be a Class A volunteer at a training site. Whatever they're missing will be listed in column J. So in this example, they're not eligible, they're missing protective behaviors. This would be an athlete not eligible, they're missing a medical. The RAMs are working with those individuals. They're in communication with them to try to get those things updated. As a reminder, the deadline for that is August 23rd is the seasonal eligibility deadline. So anyone that is showing up red needs to be updated by that point in time in order to stay on your roster and to be eligible for participation in either sectional events or state level events. Anyone on here in yellow is expiring. So they have something that is expiring in the middle of the season. So prior to Fall Fest this year. It'll list what the item is that it's expiring and the date that it's expiring on. Again, our RAMs will be working with those individuals to get those things updated. But you see these people more often, right? They're regularly at your training site. So I think a friendly reminder that that is expiring and it's something that they'll need to go in and do is super helpful. The other category, a newer one that we've added here, is the orange. So these are essentially Class B volunteers at your training site. Again, we've tried to capture different than in years past, everyone who is a regular attendee at your training site. So we encourage this, right? Like we know we want you to have help, and these people are great additions. It's just important that you know and understand that they cannot directly supervise athletes. So they cannot be one-on-one with an athlete ever. They should never be asked to take an athlete to a bathroom, or they just need to always have supervision when they are directly working with athletes. So great resources, again, to help you run skills and drills, or to help specific athletes, with specific skills. I mean, they can work one-on-one with an athlete. It just needs to be in your purview, right? So it needs to be happening kind of within the venue where you're there kind of overseeing and supervising. But those are just Class B individuals, so they do not have Class A clearances, which is what makes them orange. If you have some people that play this role, but they have all of their Class A clearances, you can work with your regional sport director to change that person to a green on here. Change them from a general volunteer, to a chaperone or an assistant coach, just so you know that that individual can serve a role within that 1-to-4 ratio at your training site, if maybe you have a coach that is not able to attend a practice one day or something like that. So again, if you've got some of those people that are currently in orange but have all of their Class A clearances, I would suggest you move them over and we make them a green. The next thing on this sheet is your LOI. So we will no longer be sending out an additional kind of LOI form or LOI. If these are the people that want to attend sectional competition, you'll just put an X in there and mark it. So you would just mark off, these are the 20 people that I want to bring. That is essentially telling us that I accept my 10, but I also are interested in attending Fall Fest, right? So as far as USA Games go, this is a qualifying year for USA Games 2026. So if you have athletes or coaches that are interested in advancing and being part of the Team PA for 2026, just asking that you note that with a simple yes. You can sit down and have this conversation at a practice, maybe pull the parents, guardians in, just make sure that those individuals that you feel like those individuals that you're marking off here are appropriate for an event like that. That'll cue us to put them just into the drawing if their sport is selected for participation in USA Games. Also for the coaches, we will open up coach applications September 1st. They'll run through October 1st. So this will be helpful in giving us some information to know if there are some coaches at your training site that are interested, so we can make sure that we specifically get them the information. The other piece of this is the attendance tracker itself. So as we've done in the past year, you have the ability to keep attendance on here. You can just update the date for whenever your practice may be, and then you can go down your list and say, yep, these are the people that are here, those people were not here that day, and so on, right? So you're welcome to kind of utilize this as a way to keep attendance. You don't have to. It is required that you keep attendance, but you don't have to use this tool to do it. So if you find it easier to just maybe print something out and manually go in each week and check people off, you could print this sheet and just manually go in and do that. What's very important is we need you at the end of the season being able to come back in here and populate column O here. So what this says is that you're going to indicate here, did a specific athlete train for 8 weeks? And the answer is just yes or no. So yes, they attended 8 weeks of practice, or no, they did not attend 8 weeks of practice. This is really important data that we need to provide to SOI for the census and for our accreditation on a yearly basis. So again, this is kind of how we pull our athlete numbers. Really important that this gets completed at the end of the season and that it's correct. I failed to note in the instruction tab, but at the end of the season, once you go through and finish that, and you'll receive emails from your regional sport directors asking you to go into and do that after Fall Fest happens. Once you finish just marking off all your yes or no's, you'll come back over to this instruction tab and just change your roster status from active to final. That lets the RSD know that, yep, you've gone and you've checked all those people and all that information looks correct. The next tab is our roster tab. So this is kind of the sport-specific rosters. Similarly to the one before, all the information in A through F will be automatically populated into here based off the sign-up form. It will be sorted by your regional sport directors. So all of that stays the same. In this kind of G, H, and I is the event details. So for local events, your regional sport directors may choose to use this or not. For our sectional events and Fall Fest, you 100%, this is how you'll indicate kind of who's coming to each of those events. So on the previous page, we did the LOI, which is the letter of intent, right? So off of that, you will receive final allocations. So your regional sport director will share with you, okay, you wanted 20 bocce athletes. We actually are able to give you 16. So this is where you come into here now and you indicate, okay, these are the 16 athletes that I'm going to take to Fall Fest. So you'll just need to go in and you mark everyone's specific role in here. So you see some athletes there. If you've got some coaches that are down here, maybe you've got a head coach and maybe a few assistant coaches. So for every individual, right, every row, you would just mark the role that they're going to play at that event. There is a little kind of trick here. Once you indicate one of these athletes, you'll see this cell kind of gets highlighted blue. There's a little blue circle there. So if you just highlight with your mouse over that blue circle and you right click, you can pull down and it'll populate that same thing in all of the cells. So just a little tip that maybe saves you a little bit of time, especially for some of our larger delegations, in going down and being able to highlight a whole selection of athletes. And then maybe you've got, maybe there's one or two athletes in here that are not attending Fall Fest. You can just go back into those cells and, you can go highlight back over those cells and then just delete. So again, for some of our larger delegations, that may be an easier way to do it. So you will just need to do that for each of the events, right? So you'll need to go in and do that for sectionals after you get your final allocations. You need to put every athlete and every volunteer from your training site that is attending that event on here. And then the same for Fall Fest. So this is probably more important for volunteers. We will automatically advance the individuals that qualify for Fall Fest over volunteers. You will definitely need to go in and mark and tell us who is coming from a volunteer basis to Fall Fest. Also, just really important that we are abiding to the dates and deadlines that are in here, both from an LOI perspective, an event roster perspective, and an event registration perspective. Our team, kind of our SOPA headquarters sports team, will come in after those deadlines and pull all this information out. Once we pull it out, you don't have the ability to change it anymore. That is what has been submitted. We need to do a better job at sticking to these deadlines and kind of abiding to these deadlines. We had, I think, several issues over the course of the past year where it just made things really difficult if information continued to change on our end, on the committee's end. So just really asking that you're abiding to those deadlines. If there is kind of extenuating circumstances, just make sure that you're working with your regional sport director on them. They'll communicate with, whoever the event lead from a headquarters perspective is. But again, these should be few and far between. And then from an event registration standpoint, so we will also conduct or pull event registration from these forms. We'll get into that kind of sport specifically, what that looks like on each of our coach preseason calls. So we'll dive into, just each sport individually. But again, just really important to know there'll be no more Google registration. This is how we're pulling all of the information for events. Again, just trying to make it a little bit easier for our coaches, giving you one place where you need to get in there and populate everything. Hopefully simplifies the process for you a little bit. I would suggest for coaches that you're keeping this stuff updated throughout the season. For a team sport, I think once you identify who is on each of your team specific rosters, you're coming in and just assigning, that individual to a specific team, putting a team name in here. If for whatever reason that changes, an athlete's not going to an event, you just won't mark them off as attending that event, right? You'll just leave that blank. But you can kind of list out your full rosters and then just let us know who is actually coming to each event. Same thing for skills, as you're identifying who your skill athletes are, you're doing some assessments throughout the season, just go ahead in here and drop in their skill score. So then once we get to an event registration deadline, all that information is already populated in here. So again, hoping that makes it a little bit easier for you. We'll talk about it more sport specifically. Similar to the team rating form. So again, I had said that that's one of the tabs here for all of our team sports. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper on each of those individual calls. So hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your regional sport director. Thanks.
All right, and I also dropped in each of the tabs that Michelle was just speaking to in this presentation, so you can take a peek at it here and have it at your fingertips as well. So there's the tracker, the athlete volunteer tab. Same tab right here. There's the athlete volunteer tab, the attendance tracker that Michelle was referring to. And here's the specific sport tab roster. And then here's specifically what Bocce looks like. So this is the Bocce sport tab. If you can see on here under Bocce, you can see in that column J is where you can click on for the event. So whether it's traditional or unified is where you would select that event. Put the team name in there. What we're hoping is that you can use your team name as your local program and then the two athletes' names listed. So Montgomery, Bach, Tresp as an example for your team. And then you can drop their scores in there. So you can see the 30-foot line, the total of the three closest balls there. Then from the 40-foot spot, and then from the 50-foot line, you can drop the scores in there. And then the skill assessment score would go directly in there. Looking off to the right, you can see where it says event, doubles traditional, doubles unified, alternate, or non-competing. Those are the drop downs that are in that column J underneath event. Jen, is there anything else that we would like to add to the Bocce specific tab? Or Bocce specific sport tab, rather?
No, I think we're good there. We just need to make, oh, you know what? When you write your team name, if you could put your county in front of it. So like for Du Bois Jefferson, it might be Du Bois Jefferson 1, Du Bois Jefferson 2, or Columbia Montour, or CM 1, CM 2. It really helps us track who the athletes are by what county they are and who their partner is.
Yeah, my suggestion would be their county and then their last name so we can easily identify the folks.
Either way, because I know we have some that like to go by king and queen or
right,
the
and then we don't
boys
know
or something, but we really need the county in there.
Okay, thank you. This is what Jen went over earlier. Again, we'll be sending out the LOIs like we normally do. So disregard from the presentation anything that was related to the LOI. So again, the LOIs will go to the regional sport directors who will share them with the team leaders, and the team leaders will report back with the LOI. Again, as a reminder, the initial allocations were out, but those are initial allocations. So on that LOI, you would be able to request additional folks. Next, we'll talk about athlete performance training. I have a little video here from Charla that'll cover athlete performance training. We're getting there, folks. I know this has been a long meeting so far, but appreciate everyone hanging on. There's a lot of good information here we thought was necessary for the coaches to hear. My computer's still thinking. We're getting there.
It's getting tired too, Bruce.
Special Olympics Pennsylvania's in-season fitness program, athlete performance training. We are excited to show you an updated athlete performance training webpage. To visit the athlete performance training webpage, you're going to go to the Special Olympics Pennsylvania website under Beyond Sports and click on Fitness Programs. You'll then scroll down and you can see all of our fitness programs that we offer here at SOPA. Under Athlete Performance Training, you will scroll down and click Learn More. For those who are familiar with athlete performance training and have provided it to your athletes in the past, we thank you for your participation and we hope you participate again this coming season. For those who are new to SOPA or not familiar with athlete performance training, or APT as it is called, here's a brief information on how it works. Athlete performance training, as mentioned, is our in-season fitness program. It includes health education, as well as a fitness evaluation for athletes at the start and end of the season. It is a minimum of 8 weeks to participate in APT, but that is similar to how training sites are required as well, so it fits right in. Athlete performance training happens at the field of play, so it can happen on any sport. It can happen on the soccer field, it can happen on the track, it can happen on the bocce court. It can happen anywhere that you are training. And we provide every team, a coach will get their own coach's guide and athletes will get an athlete guidebook. In the coach's guidebook, you will be able to read scripts to provide health education lessons each week. We recommend you provide those during the warm-ups or the cool downs. And then athletes will be provided in their guidebooks fitness education and fitness and exercise programming that they can do at home. And you will encourage your athletes to do that at home when they're training during the season. The goal is for athletes to exercise 5 days a week, as well as eat healthier with more fruits and vegetables and drink water. Athletes are also provided a tracker so they can track these goals, and you can discuss those trackers with them each week at trainings to encourage them to keep going and provide them with feedback and support. So we've seen some really great results from athlete performance training, and we want to share with you now where we are with that data that we've collected so far.
APT has served for athletes of all ages across 14 sports, and we've seen some amazing results so far. A majority of these athletes improved or maintained their health status, with over 90% of them improving or maintaining their blood pressure and body mass index. For athletes who started with health measures that we consider high risk, we saw across the board benefits to their health, as you can see here. 91 of those athletes improved or maintained their BMI, 92% improved or maintained their blood pressure, and 95% improved or maintained their 6-minute test time, a measure of cardio fitness. Our early returns suggest that participating in APT can contribute to athletes getting healthier and staying healthier.
So we're really hoping to continue to see these results come in. We know that we have a lot of work to do, and many of our athletes are excited to participate in athlete performance training this coming season. We hope you consider offering it at your training sites as well. And if you're interested in participating, we have updated the registration process. It is right there on the website. You will scroll down to where you see here if you're a coach, and the steps are written out for you. The first step will be to click on this link to watch the training video. The training video is about 30 minutes long and provides further details on the program, how you run the fitness test, and how you record the data. Then you will register formally here by clicking the link, and you will get a registration form that's easy to fill out. Once the registration form is completed, Special Olympics Pennsylvania will reach back out to you to confirm your participation. We will then mail you guidebooks to your home where you'll be able to utilize them through the season with your athletes. If you have any questions during the season, we're here to support you. You can obviously reach out to myself, Charla Stein, and my email address is linked here, or you can call me directly, and I'm happy to support you during the season, or if you have any questions prior to participation. All coaches who participate in athlete performance training will also be eligible for the bronze level in the coaches training and progression plan. Again, we greatly appreciate your consideration in participating in athlete performance training, and we look forward to working with you more during this season and beyond.
All right, fall competitions. What's coming up this fall? Jen already talked about Bocce Bash coming up for local competition in Bocce. If you are having any other local tournaments or invitationals, we would like for you to let us know by completing the SOPA competition calendar, the submission form right there. Let us know if you're having any local or invitational tournaments. That would be greatly appreciated. Fall sectionals coming up. Central Fall Sectional will be the first one out of the gate, September 22nd at Juniata College. For Bocce, it will be played outdoors on the turf, like Jen mentioned earlier, as part of the turf surface. Western Fall Sectional the following weekend, September 29th at Slippery Rock University. That will be indoors on the carpet. And then Eastern Fall Sectional at DeSales University the following week on October 6th. Again, that will be played indoors in the gymnasium on carpet as well. Fall Fest is November 1st through the 3rd. I mentioned earlier, well, I mentioned for the sectionals when the information will be out. But the registration information for Fall Fest will be shared with local programs on September 6th. USA Games, we have not received our quota yet. We look to receive them sometime in mid-August. So we look forward to seeing how many athletes that we're able to take to Minnesota in 2026. As far as athlete communication, we'll share a list of qualified individuals. Those that took first place in the quota of the sport, well, quota for the sport that we have. We will share that with the RSDs and the team leaders for their review before we do the selection process. Once we identify those athletes, they will be emailed and asked to complete a pre-selection questionnaire in order for them to be entered in the selection process, again, for USA Games. Some additional staff roles that we have, we'll be looking for staff, some athletes or volunteers to fill in new roles. Our PA management team, those opportunities will be shared in August as well. As Michelle mentioned on that video, coach applications will open up September 1st, close October 1st, and look to interview our coaches sometime mid-October to make our selections for the coaches. So if you are interested, please be on the lookout for those applications. And this is the new portal. This is another video, but coaches, if you have not been on the portal, this will explain, how to get on the portal and sign in and everything like that. So very important information here with the new portal. This will be the last video that I share for the night, and then we'll open up for any additional questions that you may have. So there we go.
Hopefully everyone on this call has claimed their profile and is in the new portal at this point in time. Erica, you can go to the next slide. This, as with all transitions like this, I think it takes some time, and it'll take some time to make sure that we've got everybody in here and kind of functioning, learning how to navigate through. So again, we will be focusing with a little bit with you all here tonight, and then with our coaches, just making sure that all of our volunteers, have a little bit of insight and hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable navigating through this new portal. As I've said, so step one is really getting people to claim their profiles. I think you all know by this point in time, Jackie and Chelsea have been talking about it for quite a while, but this will be our new database system. It really will be a new management system. There are a lot of bells and whistles. There are a lot of things. Everything that we just talked about in the tracker, we hope to be doing in the portal. Fingers crossed this time next year, maybe maybe 18 months from now, but everything will start to be managed from a coach perspective, a team perspective, an athlete perspective within this portal. So it's good. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of this stuff will get much easier. It's being built out. This is a brand new system. It's been a collaboration between Special Olympics International, Microsoft, and then 6 different state programs. So clearly Pennsylvania being one of them, that has really been a leader in this whole entire process, which is great because we get to help build and design it, right? So we get to make sure that it's got some of the functionalities that we want and need, which is why we felt like it was really important to come in on the front end. So this is what the home screen looks like. If you can just go back real quick, if someone is landing here that is a returning volunteer, it's just really important that we're not creating new accounts. All of their data, if they were in visas previously, has been transferred over to the portal. So they should be claiming their profile and kind of going in through that direction. So go ahead, you can go to the next page. Again, hopefully most of you have went through this at this point in time. If you have not, all of the Claim Your Profile emails went out in April, May timeframe. They went out kind of in a scattered over a few different weeks. They came from a do not reply email address. So a lot of them are getting caught up in spam filters or trash email. So if you're looking for yours, if you've got coaches that are looking for theirs, you may just, if you give them this like portals at Special Olympics PA, typically you can go do a search within your email and hopefully that'll pop up. They will be resending all of these emails at some point, maybe later this month or into August. When they resend them, they will come from a Special Olympics. So it'll say Special Olympics, and then the portals at specialolympicspa.com. So hopefully better than the do not reply. I mean, that was one of the pieces of feedback that we got in that initial push out. If you need to claim your profile and you can't find that email, you can email this here. It's kind of our new just support email. So it's portalsupport@specialolympicspa.org. You can email that. They will get you the information that you need to go in and claim your profile. This document here, if you want to pull it up, Erica, you can. I'm not going to go through it page by page. It's probably 9 or 10 pages long, but one of our very awesome volunteers from Summer Games put this together to kind of help her volunteers that were coming to her venue step through the process. If it won't open, it's not a big deal. It's just a PDF and it walks you through step by step how to claim your profile. So you'll have the link to this as we send out the PDF and the recording. Again, super useful tool that you can share with your people as well, just with, you know, how to go in and step by step claim your profile. You can go to the next one. So just a little bit of navigating through the portal. So I think as you get in, and kind of part of claiming your profile is updating your contact information. So just really important to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date email, the most up-to-date cell phone number. For those of you that were at Summer Games, right, we're kind of utilizing text blasts and things like that to communicate for what's happening at events. We're getting all those cell phone numbers through the information that's here in the database. So it's just important that this stuff is correct. So we're able to properly communicate with you or reach you as needed. And then some of the things you'll see as you kind of get to your home screen, this is really what I would call kind of your home screen, your volunteer zone within the portal. You'll see these different options. So review your checklist, sign up for an event, or do more with Special Olympics. So we'll get into kind of what's under each of those that is important for coaches to know. You can go to the next one, Erica. So on your checklist is everything that you will need based on the role that you have. So all of the information that all the certifications, all of the background stuff that you had in visas should have transferred over here. If you're in here, you're looking at it and something's not right, or maybe something's missing, again, just contact that portal support. We'll work with you. We'll try to get those things fixed. But everything that all the certifications you have, kind of all the trainings that you've taken should pop up here on your checklist. And you'll see things are either completed or if things are out of date. So like my concussion awareness training is out of date. That is now marked as incomplete, something that I need to go in and do. Things that are kind of upcoming to expire, it'll actually say in there, will expire in 60 days, will expire in 30 days. So if you're kind of coming in here on a regular basis, you should be able to see those things. You will also, similar to like we've done in visas, you will get some notifications at those key time points when things are due to expire. letting you know that you'll just need to go in and re-up them. But all the background clearances, so you'll see here PA disclosure statement, all of you, I didn't copy everything, but background check, right? So all of your PA child abuse clearances, all that stuff is kind of managed in here. You'll see it as completed, all your training. So this is where you come to take general orientation, protective behaviors, concussion training. You just come here. Everything will link directly to those trainings through here. It'll automatically update that you've completed it once you have completed it. So it's really nice trying to just automate a lot of those processes. So you're not waiting on someone, us on the back end, to manually update some of those things for you. This is also where you will now see practicum hours and continuing education. So you see a practicum hours in here. Yours will look a little bit different. It'll have practicum hours kind of bocce, practicum hours soccer per sport. But and I've got another slide on that. I'll show you what that looks like, but just trying to make the process easier, right? Trying to kind of get all these things in one place, so it's easier for our volunteers to manage. Again, same with continuing education, which we'll get to here in a second. So you can go to the next one. That is what your checklist looks like. That do more with Special Olympics button. So this is where you go to say, what do I want to be in Special Olympics Pennsylvania, right? So if you are not already a coach and you want to be a coach, so if you're not already a coach, if I'm someone new coming into the portal, the only thing I'm going to have on my checklist is the Class B volunteer. Once I would come in here and I would say, okay, and so under coach, the only role that's there is assistant coach. That may change in the future, but this really captures all coaches, right? So if you're a head coach, if you're assistant coach, it doesn't matter. So just so you guys know that, it kind of covers just anyone who's filling a coaching role. If I would go in and click that button, which maybe I have on the next screen, but and then I say, like, I want to apply for this assistant coach position. My checklist will then update with all the Class A certifications that I need to be a coach, right? So you're not going to see those things on your checklist until you say, I want to fill that role. So that's where you do that. You do that kind of in this do more with Special Olympics. So you'll see the ones that I think we will really use, I've starred here. So it's the coach and then the team support. So the team support are just chaperones. So anyone who is helping, at a competition or at an overnight event. Local program support. So all of our team leaders, managers, our sport team leaders, that is kind of local program support. So if you're filling a role like that, and then unified partners. Under kind of general and event would be some of the roles that are specific to events. So, right, you can be kind of a group lead for a corporate group at coming to summer games, right? So there are some different roles that you'll see listed within there under athletes, and the health and fitness are mentorships and things like that. So different things in there, but I think the ones we would need to focus on from a competition perspective are that coach and the team support. Okay, I think that one's good. You can go to the next one. So signing up for an event. So super important. This is where we will now sign up for coach training schools. So this is also where you will sign up to be a day of volunteer at summer games or at a fall sectional, right? So as we're directing all of our Class B volunteers, they are also starting portal accounts. They are also coming in here. That is how they will sign up for an event. So, as you start to kind of direct some people in that direction, important for you to know that as well. But this is where we will do coach training school registration. So clearly we'll have a lot of those opening up here for the fall season. As you'll see just down below where the 2 yellow stars are. So if you click on sign up for an event, you will see right there sports training school registration. It is super important. So you see kind of in my blue arrow pointing to this kind of peachy box here. So you have to complete the Class B liability on your My Checklist before you'll even be able to see anything. So everyone coming in needs to complete that Class B liability, I think it's called maybe, but on your My Checklist. And again, you'll see it as something that's incomplete. So it'll for sure stand out. But that may be one of the reasons, if you have people saying, I don't see this for whatever reason, that may be one of the reasons they're not seeing it. So just cue them, go back, make sure they fill that out. And again, if you continue to have any struggles, you can just email that portal support. Just important to know all of our track 2, so any experienced coaches and track 2 is really just for people coming in with a lot of experience in a particular sport. So you have coached that sport at high school, college level, officiated that sport. We like to see kind of an in-depth, not just, oh, I played basketball when I grew up, but some in-depth participation in a specific sport in order to go track 2. But those will still be managed through that track 2 application link. We're not yet managing them through the portal. So that's the one thing just important to note that'll continue to happen outside of the portal. If you go to the next slide, it'll just show you what it looks like once you click on the sports training schools. So these are a list of the sports training schools that are currently up there. They're up there. People can get in. It looks like hopefully we've got maybe some people registering for some of those things. But so we've got LDR virtual trainings and Bocce virtual trainings up and ready to go for this fall season. Once you click on that, this is what it looks like. So it just gives you kind of the start date, the end date, a little bit of a description. For all these virtual ones, it really just says you'll be provided with a link a few days prior to the training. And you just click sign up, and then you can go to the next slide. Just super important too that everyone is actually registering for training schools. Once a training school happens, we'll get attendance. We'll go in, we just click that people were there, and then it will automatically populate those that they are appending in that sport within their checklist. It'll automatically populate their practicum hours. But if an individual has not signed up via the portal, none of that stuff will happen. And it's going to take a lot longer for us to get all that stuff active within their portal account. So please, 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 make sure people are just going in here and getting registered for the training schools. So you'll see here, once you register for something, so I registered for one of the LDR training schools, once you're back on that home screen, kind of your volunteer zone, it'll pop up right there, anything that you've registered for. So that is the training that I registered for. If I was also registered to volunteer at an event, it would pop up there. So I think that's really nice that it just kind of is a good reminder of the things that you have signed up for. And then this was just, sorry, I guess I should have done that one first, but on the bottom there with the great, you signed up. So once you actually hit sign up for one of those things, it verifies that you've signed up. You can click kind of the add to your calendar. It gives you the option to add to a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. We know that the start dates in there are a little wonky. We're just going to change it to January 1 to December 31 to hopefully not throw anybody off. But since we've managed it the way that we have and just calling this like a sports training school registration, we can't give that a specific date. So like for summer games, it would say the specific job and the specific dates that the job is running. So understand that's a little wonky. We'll just make sure people understand. But it says right there, the LDR training I signed up for is on August 19th at 6:30. So and when you add to your calendar, that is also what it will get added as. Okay, I think you can go to the next one. So practicum hours. So again, we have tried to significantly simplify this process for individuals. This will be the new way to submit practicum hours. You just go to your checklist. Again, after you have taken a training, you will see this appear on your checklist. Once you've completed those 10 hours, this talks to you about how those hours can be calculated. So up to 5 of those hours can be obtained prior to your training. 5 of the hours need to be obtained after you've taken the training. So if you took a training yesterday and you're going in and you're saying yes to your practicum hours form today, that's probably going to raise a red flag, right? Like you need to get 5 hours of your practicum training after you take your training. So just once you've completed those 10 hours, you come in here, you just kind of, we ask, you're reading through this form, and then you just click that box that says I've read and agree with the practicum hours, and then you hit renew and your practicum hour submission is done. So again, have just tried to simplify this process for our coaches. And I think that's it for the portal. Again, there are definitely a lot of other things. We're just trying to scratch the surface here on, what we feel like is important for coaches to know.
Okay, that was the new portal. And then lastly, this should be it. So I guess we'll open up at this time. If anyone has any further questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions you may have.